During his conversation with Dr. Jordan Peterson, musician Chris Lunsford, known as Oliver Anthony, discusses the balance between artistic vision and commercial success, the impact of authentic music for combating demoralization, and the confusion of politics with the sacred. Acknowledging controversies around his quick rise to fame, Lunsford shares his personal journey and addresses criticisms about selling out for commercial success. Lunsford's song, Rich Man North of Richmond, rapidly gained popularity and resonated widely with listeners. Anthony attributes this success to authenticity and the ability to strike emotional chords with listeners. When asked how Anthony was handling his sudden fame, he admitted being surprisingly calm amid it all. He admitted it was surreal and exciting, mentioning the inexplicably rapid ascent of his song and its unexpected aftermath as a blessing. An example of the effects of his newfound fame is a meme suggesting he was performing at the Super Bowl, a false rumor that gained traction. Dr. Peterson touched upon the varied reactions artists often have towards commercial success. Some are terrified by it, some ideological oppose it and call it selling out, and some simply never get offered the chance to sell out. Peterson argues that the venture of marketing oneself and communicating should also be seen as a creative challenge. Addressing a rumor that Lunsford turned down an $8 million contract, Peterson asked for clarification. The story is indicative of the delicate balance artists must find between maintaining their artistic purity and reaching a broader audience or achieving commercial success. In response, Lunsman explains his perspective on his music, that the songs he writes are foremost for himself, and it's a bonus if they end up helping others. He shares a poignant moment where a fan shared how his songs had helped him cope with a family member's suicide. This deep conversation focuses on the profound impact of authenticity in music, the reach of modern media, and the struggle artists face in the crossroads of artistic purity and commercial success. The conversation with Dr. Jordan Peterson and musician Chris Lunsford, known as Oliver Anthony, delves deeper into the consequences and pressures fame brings and their impacts on an individual's mental health and personal life. Anthony mentions the hundreds of emails and messages he gets filled with the despairing stories of fans struggling with hardships in their lives. Struck by the role he suddenly plays in society as an influencer, Anthony contemplates turning his music into a non-profit initiative or even a ministry, underlining his aspiration to help people directly. Lunsford offers an honest reflection on the way the music industry operates, putting profit before authenticity. This is particularly noticeable in country music, which Lunsford feels has lost its connection with listeners over time due to commercialization. Lunsford speaks passionately about leading a new movement that brings the essence of genuine expression back into music. He would like to inspire other musicians to focus on their creative impulses rather than getting fixated on deals with record labels or large booking agencies. Lunsford alludes to the significant shift experienced in the entertainment industry due to platforms like podcasts. These platforms offer unfiltered content that has the ability to strike a chord with audiences yearning for authentic connections, gaining sensitivity to the artificiality of traditional media. He stresses that artists now have the unprecedented ability to circumvent intermediaries and directly connect with their audiences. The prime example here is Joe Rogan's groundbreaking podcast, where he invites guests he is genuinely curious about and discusses a wide range of topics. His approach, devoid of the influence of fame or money, resonated with listeners, resulting in immense success and setting a new standard for modern media. In a candid exchange, Peterson talks about the strong allure of creating genuine art and how he believes it holds great importance, even in the question of politics and religion. The potency and healing capacity of music are also acknowledged during the conversation. The discussion then shifts to practical advice on managing the rigorous demands of fame. The importance of a competent team for logistics, security, and travel is emphasized, reducing unnecessary stress for artists. The duo's deep conversation subsequently examines the importance of authenticity in a world quickly being dominated by technology, politics, and COVID-19. Anthony reiterates the transformative potential of music and his intent to reinstate a time-tested ethos into the contemporary world. In this in-depth part of the dialogue, Peterson discusses the significance of his partnership with Daily Wire and Live Nation, both entities he emphasizes have radically improved his ability to reach his audience without compromising the quality and authenticity of his podcasts. Notably, his associates have set up studios globally for him, ensuring the production value remains high. Acknowledging the possibility of his podcast appearing more corporate, Peterson highlights their commitment to not interfering with his content, contrasting the corporate entity stereotype with their entrepreneurial spirit. Peterson, in a poignant exchange, shares a deeply personal story about a friend named Chris, a talented musician who fell victim to drugs, despair, and eventual suicide. This tragic tale underscores the dangers of an aimless life, the rejection of one's potential, and the detrimental effects of external narratives about societal structures like patriarchy. Oliver Anthony reveals that Peterson's story resonated with him, making him question parallels in his own life. He attributes part of his success to Peterson's self-authoring program, which enabled him to envision his future and navigate his path strategically. The conversation further explores the dynamics of fame and audience interaction. Peterson shares his strategy for meet and greets after events, while emphasizing the importance of interacting with individuals rather than the crowd. The humanity in these encounters, Peterson explains, helps keep the ego in check, something crucial for those in the spotlight. Anthony concurs, expressing his discomfort with the ego-driven celebrity culture and reinforcing his aspirations to remain grounded and connected with his audience. An interesting instructional point emerges from this section of the conversation. Peterson considers a future-oriented vision a necessary tool for success. This sentiment is echoed by Anthony, who reveals the benefits he garnered from Peterson's self-authoring program. This program allowed him to project a vision for his career and reinforced the notion that an artist's future should not solely rely on external influences, but on a solid and strategic vision they create for themselves. The risks posed by fame are not overlooked, with Anthony emphasizing how an inflated ego can disconnect artists from their fan bases and risk their authenticity. Despite the rapid rise to stardom and the attention he attracts, Anthony states that he sees himself no different than those to whom he sings. This fundamental humility, an antidote to inflated egos, appears as a driving force behind Anthony's desire to maintain authentic connections with his audience, reinforcing Peterson's emphasis on the importance of individual interactions. As they delve into the consequences of fame, the balance between public performance and private life is also analyzed. The dialogue suggests that artists can foster this balance through structured interactions with their fans, such as intentionally planned meet and greets, thus maintaining the intimacy that Anthony seeks while performing for large audiences. The duo's deep conversation subsequently examines the importance of authenticity in a world quickly being dominated by technology, politics, and COVID-19. Anthony reiterates the transformative potential of music and his intent to reinstate a time-tested ethos into the contemporary world. Cash in on the popularity of podcasts by offering viewers an unfiltered and honest approach to content that resonated with listeners who are eager for courage and authenticity. Anthony describes how artists can use these platforms to bypass intermediaries and directly connect with their audiences, using Joe Rogan's groundbreaking podcast as a prime example. Meanwhile, Peterson uses his own experience to highlight the benefits of partnering with companies like Daily Wire and Live Nation. Despite initially being hesitant about potential corporate influence, Peterson praises these partnerships for enhancing the reach and quality of his podcast without hampering its authenticity. While sharing a tragic story of a friend succumbing to drug use and suicide, including the perils of being aimless in life and not realizing one's potential, Peterson emphasizes the importance of having a clear vision for the future. Anthony relates to this revelation, crediting Peterson's self-authoring program for guiding his successful music career. He also expresses concerns about maintaining authenticity amidst popularity, illustrating the importance of grounding oneself and remaining accessible to fans. Peterson echoes Anthony's sentiments, highlighting the benefits of meet and greets to build personal connections with fans and keep artists humble. Their conversation indeed sheds light on the struggles and opportunities that come with fame, providing valuable insights for aspiring artists and resonating with the audience yearning for genuine connections. This part of the dialogue ventures into the experiences of Oliver Anthony living in the world of social media and how it affects our perception. Oliver feels the damaging impact of social media in how it emphasizes differences instead of similarities, leading to a tremendous divide that's making society more politically volatile. He discusses the weaponization of personality, where individuals with imaginative or traditional minds are pitted against each other instead of encouraging them to harness their collective strengths. Oliver's pessimistic view extends to the future and what it holds for the next generation, positing if they would have the freedom to express themselves or merely exist in public. Yet despite his concerns, he believes in the capacity for change and emphasizes reconditioning our perception of one another. Anthony underscores his transformational journey, sharing how he refrained from materialistic desires to pursue a life more uncomplicated and less burdened by financial strain. Moving away from a life of debt to live on a land he owns was a pivotal change that was instigated by using Peterson's self-authoring program. This transition helped him streamline his preferences and goals for his future, offering an equation for contentment and happiness that may differ from that proposed by societal norms. He outlines his desire to enter regenerative agriculture and his affinity for nature as important aspects of his vision. The conversation transitions into a dissection of the partnership dynamics between creative entrepreneurial types and conservative managerial types. Peterson credits his successful collaborations with CABA, Live Nation, and the Daily Wire to these respective personal encounters and trust-building exercises, allowing him to leverage their managerial skills while keeping his creative freedom intact. The discussion then pivots towards the importance of staying grounded in the face of fame, with Peterson highlighting the necessity for self-reflection on one's shortcomings. He insists on the value of carefully maintaining harmony between different temperament types, which can be achieved through maintaining personalized relations. Anthony mentions that the benefit of using the self-authoring program balanced out the monotonous cycle of life, helping him define what he truly wanted. Both Peterson and Anthony seem to advocate for a definite vision for one's life as the way to avoid dissolution into anxiety, hopelessness, and conflict. One of the eye-opening realization and key takeaways from the self-authoring program, as cited by Anthony, involves how clearly written down goals can lead to a significant positive shift in life's trajectory and result in a fulfilling living experience irrespective of societal norms. The importance of vision is underscored in this segment, with the guiding principle being, where there is no vision, the people perish. Peterson links this to having a definite aim that provides direction and reduces anxiety. Without a collective aim, be it in a marriage or any other collective setup, the result is conflict. The self-authoring program is praised yet again for helping individuals lacking direction, breaking down visions of the future into manageable steps. Peterson laments the education system's failure to teach students to devise individual character and life visions based on the Prussian military model, limiting their ability to clearly visualize and plan their futures. This part of the conversation centers on the notion of the pursuit of one's vision and how it impacts our lives. Drawing parallels with the biblical story of Moses and Exodus, both Anthony and Dr. Peterson suggest that individual and shared visions in life can lead to fulfillment. Dr. Peterson brings up an essential lesson from the Exodus story: how Moses becomes a leader by pursuing what captivates his attention, a burning bush. This process symbolizes a person's call to investigate their deep-seated desires, which can lead to satisfaction and a sense of purpose. In light of this, Anthony shares his experiences of convincing his wife to follow their shared vision despite the anticipated sacrifices. By focusing on the long-term benefits rather than immediate comfort, he managed to gain her support and embark on their journey. Similarly, Dr. Peterson points out the necessity of visionary practices, especially in marriages, where both parties must agree to play out the proposed vision to avoid conflict and ensure harmony. Anthony also reflects on societal constructs, revealing his reservations about the conventional 9-to-5 routine and its tendency to restrict individuals from pursuing their true callings. Dr. Peterson agrees, emphasizing the importance of paying attention to what calls us, which can be a catalyst for personal and professional growth. Talking about the practical implementation of their shared vision, Anthony portrays a desire to introduce their children to nature and imaginative thinking, intending to shield them from premature institutionalization. They plan to develop a model integrating regenerative agriculture with mental health support, offering a hands-on healing experience for those dealing with issues like PTSD and anxiety. This idea is motivated by studies suggesting the positive impact of hard work in nature on mental well-being. Finally, Anthony recognizes the challenge in foregoing immediate gratification for a vision that doesn't exist yet. However, he reiterates the importance of faith in taking this leap. Dr. Peterson echoes this sentiment, indicating that faith implies belief in our abilities, our vision, and the belief that a dreadful situation can indeed transform into something more fulfilling and purposeful. In this continuation of the conversation, Anthony and Dr. Peterson delve deeper into the significance of faith and how it can guide individuals towards their purpose. Dr. Peterson frames faith as trust in what beckons the individual, like a burning bush in the wilderness. The metaphor signifies the stirring or call to action that compels us towards our life's purpose, and how ignoring this call can lead to personal discontentment or even despair. Drawing on biblical narratives, Dr. Peterson underscores how resentment and bitterness can lead to destructive behavior, using the story of Cain as a prime example. He likens this state of festering resentment to those who feel trapped in predictable industrial generic routines, and suggests that when people allow frustration to overcome them, they risk spiraling into destructive behaviors. Through his song, Anthony echoes this notion and extends it to the current political climate. He criticizes a system where factions wield their bitterness as weapons against each other rather than utilizing their diverse abilities to build a stronger society. The conversation then progresses to how we envision and shape our future. Anthony suggests that society should prioritize two things above differences, in politics -1, recognition and love of God or higher power, and 2, love for each other. Echoing this sentiment, Dr. Peterson emphasizes the idea of treating oneself and others properly. Moreover, when discussing leadership, Dr. Peterson suggests indicators of good and bad leaders. In his view, if an individual is trying to impose their vision via force or fear, they are not a suitable leader. In contrast, leaders who propose their visions voluntarily and encourage open discussions are more likely to be trustworthy. Anthony agrees with this premise, noting that one must discern whether motivations stem from a place of love or fear. Despite perceived urgencies, he reinforces Dr. Peterson's point that even in crisis situations, leaders should refrain from wielding fear as a power tactic and instead should motivate and guide people through faith and hope. Lastly, Anthony and Dr. Peterson discussed their experiences on Joe Rogan's show. Anthony appreciated Rogan's down-to-earth and genuine demeanor, noting that not all public figures maintain their humility behind closed doors. The conversation subtly reaffirms the importance of authenticity, closing the loop on their earlier discussions about individuality and true calling. In another stretch of their conversation, Anthony and Dr. Peterson discussed the significance of humility, authenticity, and personal responsibility. Anthony provides an inside scoop into Joe Rogan's podcast and his admiration for Rogan's honest approach to his work, and Tom Segura's generosity in offering an unexpected platform to perform. This led Anthony to recognize the ripple effect of kindness and how one act can spiral into unforeseen opportunities. Meanwhile, Dr. Peterson shared his perspective on Rogan's success, attributing it to Rogan's authenticity and straightforwardness. He praised Rogan for maintaining an environment of intellectual equality where guests are comfortable speaking their minds without the fear of being entangled in unexpected traps. Anthony reflected on his own journey, admiring Rogan's ability to navigate intense situations with calm and composure. The conversation then ventures into the idea of responsibility and the potential dangers of non-interference. Dr. Peterson uses an analogy of points on a globe interconnected, emphasizing the ripple effects one individual can have on others. Knowing 1,000 people directly and 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000 indirectly, he accentuates how individuals sit at the center of a vast web of influence, and the consequences of their actions echo far beyond their direct reach. Armed with this awareness, Dr. Peterson advocates for individuals to embrace their power to influence, cautioning about the risk of leaving ignored responsibilities to become oppressive tools in the hands of tyrants. He brings up a quote by Dostoevsky, stressing the extreme responsibility individuals bear, not only for their own actions, but for the actions of others as well. In response, Anthony confesses about the contagious nature of energy, affirming how the world is more connected than it appears. He emphasizes the power of positive imagination and highlights how an individual's local changes can contribute massively to the world at a larger scale. In conclusion, they both agree on the importance of having a righteous and pure entity like God at the top of society's focus to maintain honesty and purity on a collective level. Their conversation underlines the crucial role every individual plays in shaping the world, and how taking responsibility for oneself and one's influence can lead to a ripple effect of improvement. As the discussion advances, Anthony expresses his optimism for their future interactions, hinting at the unpredictable nature of life's journey. The notion of embracing life's craziness resonates deeply with Dr. Peterson, who agreeably adds that such spontaneity can keep one alert and free from resentment. He illustrates an adventurous spirit as stepping into uncharted waters where you never quite know what to anticipate next, affirming the essence of a real adventure. Their exchange further illuminates Dr. Peterson's affinity for free-flowing, adventurous narratives and his perception of life as a series of unexpected, thrilling twists. He acknowledges the exciting uncertainty that comes with taking a leap into the unknown, signifying personal progression and growth. Acknowledging the joint efforts that brought the podcast to fruition, Dr. Peterson extends his gratitude to the film crew in Florence and Daily Wire Plus for their role in making the podcast possible. In a gesture of gratitude and camaraderie, he praises his guest, Anthony, wishing him luck as he navigates the crazy sallying forth he's embarked upon. Dr. Peterson then addresses the audience, informing them about the continuation of their conversation on the Daily Wire Plus platform. This transition suggests a deeper dive into autobiographical elements, narrating personal histories, and exploring individual experiences, an approach that Dr. Peterson typically leans towards on this platform. The conversation draws to a pause with a sense of open-endedness, implying that the narratives at play extend well beyond the current dialogue, ready to unfold in successive discussions. So, by bidding goodbye to the audience, Dr. Peterson implies that Anthony's journey and their shared discourse are far from over,